You're listening to the Who is Christine Anyway podcast. Enjoy. The engagement factor of how the internal venue management works. If you do not have an engaging artist that is performing, your people are not going to be dancing, therefore not thirsty. You're going to have an increase in sales if you are engaging your audience. Not to mention, they're going to feel more at home in the space. They're going to want to invite more people, which more heads, more purchases, more tabs, more money, more use, more space. And they just don't seem to understand that concept overall. Is that...
I think what they want is they want to be able to say, we have live music. We have live music artists here. And people go, oh, live music. And then you got the howler. And then they go there and then, but they also, they're coming there and they still want to have their conversation with their friend and just have music in the background. And that's a lot of what we have here. Now we have places like the Waterhole. Eric, has a huge lineup all the time, all year. And it looks like maybe he's branching out a little bit into some other genres than he has been. I know I talked with him last spring about a possibility of us playing there at some point, but it hasn't come through yet. And, quite frankly, I don't think we fit. I don't think we would be a good fit there for his crowd. And that's just being honest about ourselves. And I think his crowd, they've been people that have been going there forever and they have a certain expectation of what kind of music they want to hear. And he caters to that. And that's money in the bank for him. So God bless him for doing it. I've always wished that he would branch out and, have a country band, have a metal band, have, whatever, and bring in different crowds at different times. But he's a businessman with a business model that he's following and it's working. So, that's fine.
I did notice too, though, like as I kind of started shaking and stirring up the pot about bringing in bigger bands and, more known bands and things that would just subsequently bring quality of life and talent to the area. I did notice that the more research I did, the more people are like, well, we can do it too. And I'm, it was funny because I would get people messaging me and they go, did you know so-and-so is holding a concert? And I'm like, that bastard, how dare they? Like, yeah, please. There's so little up there that I can exist completely contently. And, there needs to be competition. There needs to be that level of healthy challenge. There needs to be that type of thing because it's, you don't need to have a price ceiling that's driven so high because talent is so sought after in terms of that. You know what I mean? There needs to be some level of a ceiling. And there's not going to be that level of a ceiling without some level of competition. And that means diversification. And that means, may the best man win. And you know what? Frankly, if after, 3 times I brought my little CD drive there and they said no, you bet your ass I'm setting up in the parking lot. We're going to perform. Like, that's just kind of one of the things. It's like, well, if you don't want to hear me that way, then you can hear me this way. But that's, always been my thing is like, especially when, smaller little bands or whatever, they're like, for some reason, they're not letting us on the bill because we didn't sell 20 tickets or whatever the stupid magic number was. It's like, whole ass parking lot out there. And that guy's got an outdoor outlet. It's like, make it work. And you'd be surprised. They make it work. They whip out their instruments. They start busking. They start doing what they need to do. And they end up selling money and merch and everything else without the expenditure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when we started out, the first band meeting started out with for me, it started out with a Craigslist ad.
That's so risky.
It was 2022, fall of 2022. And I put out an ad.
I feel like you're the least likely to get gutted like a fish, though. Like, I feel like you'd be like, no, that's not how this is going to go.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm taking a huge leap here, and I'm going to do it. And I had a few people contact me, and we had a band meeting up at my studio house, and then I said, okay, okay, these people. And I told them what my vision was, what my expectations were, and so they said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And then, so I immediately got 3 people, my bass player, a guitar player, and Melissa, or my first vocalist, female vocalist.
You
And
remooned me?
yeah.
You
And then,
remooned me.
yeah. And then in December, we started some of our first rehearsals and, starting to put together some music. And then the guitar player at the second rehearsal abruptly quit. And so Mike Harrigan became our one and only lead guitar player. And then we kept going from there and then building on. And then we took on our keyboard player last. And then, so it was I think it was January of 23. We had 6 songs that we were doing really well. And open mic night was Wednesday nights at the Hotel Saranac. So we said, you know what? The best way to take the temperature, whether or not there's going to be an appetite for this, is go out to open mic night and see what the reaction is. So, and this was before, the outfits and the backdrop and all the other production stuff that we had. We just went up there and we all dressed up very nice and everything. But yeah, we did we did, I think, like 3 songs for the first session of open mic, and the place went nuts. It was like, whoa, okay. So then people were calling for an encore, and it's like, holy crap, encore at an open mic. So then some of the howlers went up and, did their thing. And then one guy went up there with an electric and just started, I think he just screamed fuck over and over and over while playing it.
That is a relatable song.
Yeah. And, but he really meant it. So it was deep.
He meant it.
Yeah.
Really meaning, like he's just screaming, like done. Just
basically, yeah. So I mean, there was this weird stew of musicians there, and we were like, okay, I think maybe we're out of place. But they called for the encore, so we went up and did 3 more, and people were just over the moon for us. And of course, the Hotel Saranac people are hearing us. And then a while later, and one of the Moonbeams was actually working there at the time, down in the restaurant. So we thought, okay, yeah, they'll want us back. Well, they wanted us to come back for open mic some months later and play at open mic.
If it's scheduled, then I was gonna say, if it's scheduled, it's not really open mic then, per se.
Right. So they want us to come back.
That's just kind of like, hey, come play for free.
Basically, yeah.
Play for exposure.
Yeah, and when you talk about one of the places that I've gone to 3 times and that ballroom up there, that grand ballroom would be perfect for us. But we have played there, but it was for a private party for North Country Community College staff and faculty at the end of the semester.
It could be a fun prom to have you guys like play as the prom band.
Yeah.
That would
but
be
it's
so
funny.
fun.
And going back to one of the other places that we've approached more than 3 times now, play, and we've been just crickets in the night.
Crickets haunt me, so it's good.
Yeah, Racket River Brewery in Tupper Lake, we've approached several times. Yeah, then no. But somebody did hire us for a private party there next March. And we're doing an adult prom there.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah. So whether or not they want us, they got us because somebody hired us.
We're like 1950s prom outfits now. You can't just wear your usual. You're gonna have to wear like 1950s prom outfits.
Well, we're gonna wear our normal
usual. You rotate them so well though. Like that also is masterful. Like you're like, I have Halloween ones. I'm coming into Christmas. And I'm like, I don't even have the shoes picked out. I'm going to wear tomorrow. Frank, how are you this like adequately prepared except for that jacket? So prepared all the way. I'm kind of hoping you get like a shoe faux pas. So like you can just keep the jacket and the shoes and pretty soon, just get a whole get up.
Yeah. Well, this Halloween, we have new outfits for this Halloween. We have a show coming up in Governor at the Elks Club, which is probably our best venue because we have the biggest
Yeah.
crowds there, and they just love us. They go nuts there.
I've
And
booked in there. I've booked
yeah, you
shows
did.
there before.
And
They're super nice people. Like,
oh my God,
super
they're
nice.
so fun. Yeah.
They are. And they like, it's, it's great too because the people that actually run that place are super open to several genres.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it. And it's kind of like they don't usually get hit enough because when you look at the demographics of the area, it's pretty spread out. But the weird thing is about this area is that if you build it, they will come. So you guys going in there, that lot was packed. I had a hell of a time finding a place to park. Yeah. And I went in there and it was like trying to weave through people. And it was hot because it was so packed full of people. The best kind of hug there is.
Yeah. And they dance from the time we play the first note to the time we end the encore. And it's just amazing. I mean, they are just so wonderful and they love us and we love them. And it's one of my favorite places to go.
There's everybody of all ages in there too, which is, there was grandparents, great-grandparents, little kids, and the little kids were dancing and the grandparents were dancing there was a lot going on in there as well as, that target demographic of like 25 to 35-year-olds to whatever, they were also in there moving around too. If not, enjoying themselves in other areas.
Yeah, it's been great seeing younger generations actually getting into this music, because, it's old, but it's still fun.
Yeah, but you can't dance to like mumble rap. You can't. How do you dance to mumble rap? So it's kind of like your music is kind of what people need to move.
Right.
Versus like, you really can't move to mumble rap. There's a lot of stuff you can't particularly move to. And if you're looking for something that's contemporary, that's really kind of the contemporary way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but you guys have had such substantial growth, which it's been really great watching you guys from your conception all the way through because, I remember reading your post about, the difficulty of the local areas and nobody wanting to particularly pay the bands. And then, that was some shit if I ever saw it. I'm like, I wonder if anybody realizes once you hit the park lines, there's riders, tech riders. There's so many things that come into play there, as well as guarantees and bonus structures and, all this stuff. So when you really, I don't know if you just hit the magic chord, but you busted your ass and you guys have had exponential growth, besides being encapsulated in Saranac Lake in its own little way. You've managed to go to Governor. You're playing the St. Lawrence County Fair next year. You're booked into 2025 pretty heavily.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've basically just started booking for 2025, and I think we already have like 12 shows booked. 2 of those are at the Clinton County Fair next July. So, it's picked up steam quickly. And I'm extremely proud of what we're doing because we have 9 people if you include our sound engineer, Russ, really pulling it all together and making it happen. And, I'm the guy behind the scenes doing all the management and the PR and equipment procurement, wardrobe procurement and all that stuff. But that's how I make the vision happen. And if my vision was faulty, then it wouldn't be happening. Because
I also want to point out your band too is not all, I don't want to say geriatric. You guys actually have some younger members.
Oh, Jessica.
Older members.
Yeah, Jessica, our newest member. I think Jessica is maybe like 27, 28 or something like that.
So that was, and you guys all, like I said, the musicianship all really melds together very well. You guys, it all just looks like you guys are just having the best time. And it's one of those situations where you can bring anybody, go anytime, it doesn't matter if you guys are playing at 11 in the morning or like 9 o'clock at night. There doesn't seem to be, it's like, oh, well, that music's only good after 8. It seems to be, it just seems to be good all the time. And it seems to be like just moving at light speed. You guys are really, you've busted through that glass ceiling that is put upon the Tri-Lakes area for musicians. And, it's impossible for a lot of people to see that, beyond the cedar porch, unless you're going to sing about canoeing.
Right. Yeah. we are that different that, do you want to call us a novelty? Do you want to call us an oddity? A noddity? I don't know.
An anomaly is what the term would be.
We're doing something that nobody else is doing or has done up here. And it's working. That's all I can say.
You know, and did you do any demographic research before you began this?
Oh, hell no. I just
So
did.
it's comical because that's literally part of my job to completely spec the area out and see. And the majority of people that live in that area fall into the age range in which would love and have grown up listening to your style of music.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, really? You can't believe it? It's like, taking a survey, everybody says they want sandwiches. So you produce sandwiches and everyone's like, the nerve, the audacity, we're not paying them. It's like, he just fucking read the instructions, guys. You didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, when we did this, it was just my whim. I said, I want to do this. We're going to try it. And if it flies, it flies. If it crashes and burns, I'll move on to something else.
You've always been musically inclined, though, ever since I met you. Like, always.
Oh, yeah. Well, even when I was a cop, I mean, remember you came over to the house and did guitar lessons with me when you were a kid. And I was still, a headbanger back then. Yeah, I mean, I grew up, my parents, I mean, you're too little to remember this now, but there was a guy named Mitch Miller back in the day. Okay, he was an orchestra band leader. And I think the show was called Sing Along with Mitch Miller, and it was like in 1961, 62 or something. Well, Dad used to tell me that when I was an infant, he'd put me on his knee and we were watching Mitch Miller. And of course, he was a band leader, so he's got the baton and he's, waving his arms and shit like that. Well, Dad said, he says, you were mimicking him, waving your arms and stuff. He says, but the thing was, he says, you weren't just mimicking. He says, you were actually keeping time with the music.
Yeah.
I was like, well, no kidding. Yeah. And then, of course, the Beatles came along, 63, 64, and Mom was a huge Beatles fan. So I was listening to that a lot. And then they were on Ed Sullivan, and I seen these guys on there, and it's like, whoa, all these chicks are going crazy over these four guys. It's like, okay, I think I want to do that. Even as a little kid, I was kind of a slut and wanted girls, but thank God. And so then, when I was 7, I started taking guitar lessons with this horribly crappy, cheap Sears plastic guitar.
Keep listening for the next part of this episode. Visit www.whoischristineanyway.com for access to all the social media links and additional podcast episodes.